the notion of a demilitarized state as articulated by Netanyahu in his Bar Ilan speech in 2009. I mean, how do they feel about it?
I mean, I wasn't living in Ramallah during that speech, so I can't give you like the immediate reaction. But I can tell you that I don't think that many Palestinians would accept that option. I think that it's many people would find that to be very insulting, and I don't think that many people are operating in good. I mean, what that gets to, what I think the question gets to, is whether or not Palestinians are looking at Israeli initiatives for a reconciliation of the conflict in the two-state framework as something real. And the answer to that, I can say probably across the board, that Palestinians do not feel as though an offer of a demilitarized state is A, something that would be implementable in practice, and B, something that's in good faith. Again, what you were saying, what Ron was saying about, kind of this kicking the can down the road, these endless negotiations, let's talk about while the facts on the ground are created, many Palestinians are aware of that. And furthermore, the issue that often comes up with Palestinians is the issue of refugees and the issue of the Palestinian body politique in total, right? Because when Palestinians, like when a lot of my friends meet each other, like I've seen these like interactions, sitting and having a coffee with a Palestinian friend, and another guy comes in, they meet each other for the first time. Oftentimes one of the first questions is, what do you have? What kind of citizenship do you have, right? Do you have a blue Jerusalem ID? Do you have a Jordanian travel document? Are you a subject of the Palestinian Authority? Do you have an Israeli passport? Do you have an American passport, British passport? And I found that interesting from a Jewish perspective, because I do feel a kinship when I meet Jews all over the world. And I don't say, what do you have? But it's the same, like, you're South African, I'm American. We come from different contexts, but we have a national cohesion. And so that exists among Palestinians, and there's millions of Palestinians that are living outside of Palestine, right? And I don't think that there is a conceivable situation in which Palestinians will relinquish that national cohesion insofar as a demilitarized state is created in the West Bank, but 5 million refugees are left in Lebanon to languish. Because Lebanon is, if you want to talk about apartheid, Lebanon is practicing a form of apartheid against Palestinians in their midst. These are people that are kept as beyond second-class citizens with absolutely no rights. And I think that is an issue that that resonates. And that's why you see a lot of calls recently to reform the PLO. The recognized global body of Palestinians in the international community, and specifically the PNC, the Palestine National Council, which is kind of this executive arm of that. And this is becoming increasingly a very, very important issue for Palestinians, that there has to be a new conversation incorporating everyone. I hope that answers your question.
I'm not quite sure the linkages between demilitarization and the refugees. I'm sorry, I missed it. What is the link?
The link is that they're not as concerned with creating a demilitarized zone, in my opinion, as they are with the resolution of the refugee issue and the national cohesion of the Palestinian people globally. That's the link. And so when Palestinians hear Netanyahu say, we would like to offer you a demilitarized zone, they're not listening for that. They're listening for,
the resolution of the refugee problem.
Exactly, right? Admittedly, it was a crude link, but I tried.
Yeah, sure.
No, I just want to, just a matter of factual information, there was a survey, a poll, about a year ago, I can't remember the precise reference, but I can look it up, in which the demilitarized aspect of the state was actually the least favorable in the eyes of Palestinians in the West Bank. So of all the things that he didn't like about the Israeli offer, that was the most.
That they didn't, that was the thing they most not liked. Wait, they didn't
like the most the notion.
Do you remember what they did like?
Well, they didn't like anything basically, but for them it was the most potent symbol that the state will continue under military occupation. Being demilitarized means you can do absolutely nothing to stop Israel from going in whenever it wants.
Oh, that's
and controlling the border and continuing the occupation in a different legal form. So it's not that they said they want to take up arms and march towards Israel. That's not the source of the opposition. It's simply a symbol of lack of sovereignty. And because of that, it means the occupation will continue. So that's the way they interpreted it. In that particular poll, I should look up the detail of this suggestion. It's basically free license to Israeli forces to enter whenever they want, to arrest whoever they want, to continue to block the movement of people whenever they want, because who would stop them?
Yeah.
It just raises one question, though. I mean, there's so much criticism inside Palestinian society right,
of their leadership, you mean?
Against like, the Palestinian policing, arrested journalists, etc. Like,
We didn't even talk about that. That's a very, very problematic
suppression of freedom of expression. So, I mean, I don't know to what extent the Palestinian police are armed. I mean, to what extent are they?
Well, there's a presidential guard, which is the people I was talking about earlier that are trained by Dayton's forces, by American special forces in Jordan. And they're armed pretty well. Recently, there was Abbas told J Street, the dovish version of AIPAC in the United States, that he needs weapons because there's a huge uprising coming, and there's a bunch of American guns sitting at the Allenby crossing. And then the Israelis released these guns, and he got the guns. So I think he's got arms, but it's pretty careful. But the issue of freedom of expression is really bad. I mean, granted, they haven't passed a law yet that prohibits Palestinians from calling for a boycott of Palestine. So we're not at that point. But, these journalists that are going to jail for criticizing Abbas on Facebook and stuff demonstrates the state, I mean, there is no state, but the nature of the Palestinian leadership is really not good, not something that any one of us would want to live under. And that does correspond a bit to that reality that we're talking about in terms of that subcontracting of the occupation structures that exist there. Just to finish up, I would like to thank everyone for coming, and I hope that these comments start some sort of nice discussion. And that's all.
Okay. And also thanks to you for your insight, your reading and your analysis. I think in South Africa, it's becoming quite a polarized debate around Israel-Palestine. And just to get a nuanced reading on the ground is extremely helpful. I think you've also you've presented with a lot of clarity, but you've also left us with a lot of questions in terms of realizing the complexity of a lot of the issues that you've raised. So thank you very much, and thank you all for coming as well. And apologies for the misdirections on the invitation. Just to give you a little bit more information, Joseph is going to be speaking at 2 other events in Johannesburg. Tomorrow evening he's speaking at WITS at the Weiser Institute. He's presenting the keynote address at the launch of the AMIC book, which emerged from our previous conference, and it's looking at issues around Israel as an ethnocratic state, issues of the question of Israel being a democracy, and that is it's Weiser Seminar Room, 6th floor, Richard Ward Building, East Campus. These are the correct details. And then on Wednesday, he'll be speaking at WITS again at 6:30 at the WITS graduate seminar room, Southwest Engineering Building. And the topic is Israel-Palestine in the changing Middle East, stagnation or change. So, a lot of these issues will be addressed, but also, further delved into. So thank you all very much for coming this evening, and thanks to you.
I hope you find it interesting or stimulating at least.
You're really quick. Yeah, I think so.
I do it. Okay, so